Hello. I am eating some of my mom's cake from her birthday. She had her birthday yesterday. And so thankful for another year with my mom. And she is an absolutely amazing woman. If you've ever had the chance of meeting her, you are blessed just to know her. So happy birthday, Mom, if you watch this. But I wanted to get on here because I had said my little 8-month-old is crawling around. He's learning to stand up, so I'm going to kind of keep an eye on him the whole time. Because we have a metal table. Who has a metal table? We do. Never seen anyone else with a metal table. But it is not child friendly. So I get nervous about him when he tries to stand up by the metal table. So I might be going back and forth a little bit. But my reason for making this video is because the last time I said that I was going to make one about my college project that my professor gave me. It was on fear and freedom, and it absolutely changed my life. So remember in college when you had to do MLA citation and all that stuff? Maybe some of you were still in it, but I would do Turabian. Is MLA the same as Chicago? Can't even remember. But we had to do our final project just kind of showing that we knew how to cite things. It wasn't necessarily for content or for anything other than, okay, can you do correct citations at the end or in the footnotes. So my professor saw that I was having a really hard time with it. I often get really stuck with projects, once I get on a roll I'm fine, but the initial startup is kind of rough. And so I'm sighing because it really is, what do they call that? The bane of my existence. It's that, what is that? The thorn in my flesh, not to be too biblical or taking that out of context. But it's in school I would always sit down to start something, and it was I was just so blank, couldn't think of anything. So he saw that I was having a hard time doing this, and he was like, Anna, I know you're a creative person, so how about you write a poem instead of a paper, but has to be the same word count, has to be the same everything, punctuation, footnotes, all of that has to be the same. And so I was like, that actually sounds really cool. And I was really motivated by that. It sounded creative, it sounded expressive. I'm gonna drink some very watered down coffee. I don't know how to make coffee. That's another thing. I don't know how to make coffee. I've never made a good cup of coffee. Unless I use a already Keurig thing and I put it in there. I don't understand. We have the little self one, you put the coffee grounds in it and then you put that in the Keurig. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I can definitely probably just Google it. And I'll probably do that after this to see what I'm doing wrong. He keeps running his head into the into the chair. So I started on this poem, and I wanted it to be an expression of all of the fears that I had leading up to college, because I feel like college is just you've lived all of your life and you have experienced all the things, and finally in college is when you start processing it all. And so that's kind of what I wanted it to be, of me looking back on my life and being okay, what have my fears been? What have my anxieties been? Why do I have a tendency to struggle with more anxious thoughts? Why do I have a hard time letting go of things? And the list goes on and on. And So I started writing it, and then my professor was like, how about you paint something that kind of goes along with it? And I was like, what? That sounds amazing. And so I painted a cage, and a bird was in the cage, but the cage was unlocked. And around that cage were all of my fears. So things like silly things, like a sea monster, or I'm trying to think of what else would have been like a silly thing. But like those normal fears where it's like, why are you even scared of like a monster in your closet type of thing. And then I painted like real fears from hurts and scary things that had happened to me. And so I painted all of those things that surrounded that cage. And as I was painting them, I was like, oh my word, I didn't realize I was scared of so many things. Or like that so many things just made me so anxious. And in the cage was a bird, and the bird was bleeding. So like a wounded bird. And the bird knew that past those fears was freedom, but the bird felt safer inside of the cage that all of the fears surrounded than by facing the fears, getting through them, and experiencing freedom on the other side. And that's how I am. I'm like, I'm just gonna cage myself from all of these fears wounded. Like, I need to get out of the cage. And I'm just gonna like let these fears consume me and let them kind of become my world, ruminate on all of them, rather than just facing them and going forward and experiencing freedom from it. So, and I know that is a whole process. Like, that's not just like, oh, just get out of your cage and face all your fears. Like, that is something that we have to walk through step by step. But as I painted it, it was even liberating for me. And then I painted a second canvas, and there was someone singing, and out of their mouth was a rainbow, and at the end of the rainbow was a bird with its arms spread, flying free. And I don't want this to sound more elaborate than it was. Picture maybe early high school, average high school artwork where you're like, wow, this has the potential to be really cool. And I'm not trying to downplay what I did either. I'm just saying, like, it wasn't like, perfectly blended or anything like that. I even think that I used like markers and would like paint with water over where the marker was and kind of use that as like part of the color. So it wasn't like, but anyways, so handed it in. I don't even remember what my grade was in the class, but it was just so cool. It was so cool to just think about all of the things in my life. And you think about it. Think of all the things in your life that have kept you locked in a cage. And you're not even locked in it. It's open. But that have kept you in a cage because it surrounds you and it becomes your reality and it becomes your world. When really you could take steps to be free of that. So what in your life would you say is that? Do I still have things like that? Absolutely. It wasn't like I had this college project and I've never struggled with fearing anything ever again in my life. No, it's like it is a very present and very real thing still. But I even just want to take a few minutes after I make this video and think of the things that I am still just kind of caged by. So I hope you can do that and experience some freedom and be able to share it with a friend or a counselor or a mentor or whoever, and be blessed. Bye.